Well, hello, good people of Newell Green. I'm really sorry that I'm not able to be with you in person tonight, but I guess we're all having to recognise the growing threat of Omicron and begin to curtail our plans. So whether you're gathering tonight or whether you've decided to stay at home, I hope that you are nonetheless sensing that you're part of God's community and knowing something of God's presence. We, like most families, are getting ready for Christmas, and I guess that every family has their Christmas traditions. And certainly one thing that we would never be forgiven for in our house, if we ever didn't do it, was not to have Christmas crackers. It's absolutely essential. My kids, although two of them are really grown up now, would be horrified if they came for Christmas dinner and there next to their plate was not one of these wonderful things, their Christmas cracker. And I find it quite amusing, really, because if you stop and you look, Christmas couldn't be Christmas without one of these. And yet, when you open it, and can I just point out that this is a plastic-free, fully recyclable Christmas cracker, but as you open it, here we go, whoop, there's the bang, you find within it three things that, in all honesty, you really don't want. First of all, of course, you have, as ever, let me just get rid of that, you have the famous Christmas cracker joke. And most Christmas cracker jokes are, this is a Christmas cracker quiz, actually. Which famous playwright, no, it is a joke, I lie. Which famous playwright was terrified of Christmas? Noel Coward. Get it? Coward, terrified. There we go. And what on earth do we need those Christmas cracker jokes for? I've actually been on the internet. That's the great thing about the internet, isn't it? And I've found some of the worst ever Christmas cracker jokes. So here we go. Why are Christmas trees bad at knitting? Because they always drop their needles. Why did the turkey join the pop group? Because he was the only one with drumsticks. What does Santa suffer if he gets stuck up a chimney? Claustrophobia. And I like this one. I do quite like this one. What do MI5 have at their Christmas parties? Now, can I just point out these Christmas cracker jokes were written before COVID, and of course they would not be a party in any government department at the moment. But what do MI5 have at their Christmas parties? Ready for it? Mince spies. Oh, I like that one. And what do you get if you eat your Christmas decorations? Tinselitis. And which athlete is warmest in winter? A long jumper. As I say, don't we really need those jokes in our Christmas crackers? We'd be lost without them. And then, of course, the other great thing that we get in our Christmas cracker is the Christmas hat. And, everybody just has to have one of these. One of the great questions in my mind is, who on earth are these things actually made to fit? Because I've never quite met anybody whose head completely and appropriately fits. This one is no exception. It's far too small, and I've just about managed to get it on. There I am with my Christmas party hat on. A party's not a party without one of these round your head, is it? I love it because when I was younger, one of our great Christmas traditions in our house was that on Christmas Eve, my mum had to go and have a shampoo and set at the local hairdressers. Christmas could not be Christmas unless my mum had had a shampoo and set, so that when we arrived at my grandmother's house, she was suitably fitted with her 1970s crash helmet style hairdo. And all the fuss, and of course we all had to have new outfits and everything else, all the fuss that we went to make sure that we look absolutely spectacular on all our Christmas photographs. And of course, back in those days, you didn't have instant cameras and digital cameras and phones like we have today. If you had a camera, you used to have a film in it. And once Christmas was over, you had to send the film away to be developed. And so it was sort of middle of January before you actually got to see your Christmas photographs. And there was you with your lovely new Christmas jumper. There was your mum with her shampoo and set, with an absolutely ridiculous looking hat on your head, and all that fuss and all that trouble that you've gone to in order to be able to look so spectacular is completely wasted because of the famous Christmas hat. And then, of course, the third thing that you find in your Christmas cracker is the present. The inevitable Christmas cracker present. And I don't know about you, but people get so possessive about those things in our family. You know, I've suddenly got this plastic frog that I clip the back and it shoots across the table. And like, people have spent loads and loads of money on jewellery and cosmetics and all kinds of wonderful things. But woe betide you if you lose my Christmas frog or whatever it is. Do you remember the fortune-telling fish? A sort of piece of cellular plastic that you put on your hand, and that's going to tell you what your future holds in store. I mean, let's face it, you're at your grandma's house. There's 6 times as many people as the house was ever designed to hold. She's been cooking vegetables for about 15 hours. The place is full of steam. Whether or not a piece of plastic curls up on your hand has got a lot more to do with the humidity and the heat than anywhere else. But, well, this year we've got in our crackers a Christmas party game where we have to put a sticker on our heads like this, and then people have to guess, or we have to guess, who we are. Absolutely spectacular. Why on earth do we have Christmas crackers? What on earth is the point of all these things that we put in them? Well, actually, I want to suggest to you that when we look at our Christmas crackers, perhaps there is a little bit of meaning that we can draw from them. Now, I'm hoping that sometime earlier in this service, someone has read from John chapter 1. And there we hear some statements about Jesus. And interestingly, I mean, the way John tells the story of his coming into the world, he doesn't give us the shepherds, he doesn't give us the wise men, he doesn't give us the manger or the angels, but rather he tries to help us understand the meaning of Christ's coming into the world. And he offers us 3 statements. And those 3 statements, each in their own way, kind of speak or kind of reflect one of the elements in our Christmas crackers. So first of all, there is the message, the joke. I think I've lost mine now, but the message in our cracker. And there in verse 14 of John chapter 1, we're told that the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. At the very heart of our Christmas, at the very heart of that story that we celebrate at this time of year, is a message that isn't just a Christmas cracker joke or a riddle or some piece of trivia that you may want to use in a pub quiz at some time in the future, but a message that is timeless, a message of salvation, a message of hope, a message of healing. But it's more than just a message. It's a message that became real. It's a message that became flesh. It's a message that was embodied in this child born in humble circumstances, in chaotic circumstances, and yet a child whose coming was the fulfillment of God's promise, and therefore a child whose life says to us that God's word, God's message, God's promises are those which we can trust through into eternity itself. And then the second thing that we notice, I'm terribly sorry, I've screwed my crown up now, but there is the story, because this child was born as a king. Not a king in the way that perhaps society understood it, but God, the King of Kings, the ruler of all, become flesh. And those early Christian believers that John sought to represent in his opening words of chapter 1 say this: we have seen his glory. We've seen his majesty, the glory of the one and only. We have recognized that this Jesus is a king. Now that's quite interesting, because as John's gospel continues, we discover that God's glory is not so much revealed by wearing a crown or being surrounded by earthly splendour, but actually by the most incredible act of self-sacrifice that this world has ever seen. And we have seen God's glory because God, through that act of sacrifice, has made it possible for us to be called God's people. And that's kind of really where we then get to our cracker gift, because there is a gift for us in this opening words of John's Gospel. Verse 12, to those who received him, he gave the right to become children of God. There is for us a gift in this story. Yes, we can look back into history, we can remember the shepherds, we can remember the wise men, we can remember and celebrate those events that took place all those thousands of years ago. But the gift of God's salvation, the gift of life, the gift of hope, the gift of the right to become the children of God is a gift for the here and now, and a gift that when we receive it, it will last us into all eternity. I've got to be honest that most of the cracker gifts in my house sooner or later end up in the Hoover, end up sucked up and lost in the vacuum cleaner. But this is a gift that lasts way, way beyond. So I hope you have a really great Christmas. I hope that you are able to celebrate. I hope that you are able to stay safe and to keep well. And I'm sure that many of you over the next few days will be pulling your Christmas crackers, will be donning those dreadful hats and reading those awful jokes and playing with those pointless gifts. And perhaps as you do that, you may be able to take a moment to remember that for all the fun and the frivolity, for all that they are really just a little bit of nothing really, perhaps contained within them is that timeless message of God. The Word become flesh. The glory revealed, and the opportunity, the gift given to become children of God. And may we each, as we celebrate Christmas again this year, understand a little bit more of that message, of that hope, of that glory, and of that gift. Amen.